Hello, it's Sydney Rose and I'm back in my art room / storage room in my house. So today I'm going to be continuing my series of trying out different acrylic / paint markers brands out against each other. Today I'm going to be comparing Posca Markers. Gotta show it up right. So Posca Markers versus the Sharpie Creative Markers. I've worked with both of these markers a lot before, so I have experience with both, but I usually mix and match when I'm using paint markers, and like in my last one I was using Shuttle Art versus the Royal Lay Nickel markers, and I use the Royal Lay Nickel markers a lot as well, so I usually mix all three when I'm doing something. I've never just used one or the other, so it's going to be interesting. But as always, I'm going to go into my spiel about each individual markers, how much you can get them for, where you can get them at, in the next little bit, and then I'm going to be drawing the same piece with both markers and compare them at the end, and you guys can decide which one you like better and go from there. But I'm still probably always going to mix and match all of my paint pens because I think that's fun. So if you've been following me for a while, you know the drill. If you haven't, hey, it's Sydney Rose and welcome to my YouTube channel. So with my testing the Royal Lay Nickel markers versus the Shuttle Art acrylic markers, both markers were priced pretty differently, but this time the Sharpie Creative markers and the Posca markers are around the same price. You can get these at multiple different locations for around $20 to $30 for a basic pack. Posca was the first paint marker I had experience with when the artist Frankie Zombie, based in Charlotte, North Carolina, came to visit my school for an assembly and then gifted a pack of Posca markers to my classroom. I will say it was trial and error, but it jump-started a new love for paint markers with not only myself, but also my students. For the Sharpie Creative paint markers, I actually started using them after my mom bought a pack for a project she was working on in her classroom. I enjoy mixing and matching the different brands of paint markers to get different colors and different effects on my pieces, but this time will be my first time trying these two individually against each other. I do also plan on trying these two against the Royal and Shuttle markers as well. The Sharpie markers have a closer to a brush tip similar to the Shuttle markers, and the Posca markers have a bullet tip similar to the Royal markers. So I'll test them against each other, and then eventually I'll have a brand showdown against all four brands, so definitely subscribe so you don't miss those upcoming videos. I thought about doing a different design with this paint marker video, but I'm a creature of habit, and my melted smiley face layered paint marker design is so much fun to do with paint markers that I had to do it for this video too. If you haven't seen my other video where I tested paint marker brands, you should watch that one after this one, but for now, I'll catch you up. First, I decided to start with the Sharpie Creative paint markers. I always start by putting painter's tape down around my edges so I can have a clean edge and border around my paper. This makes it easier for me to test out the markers on the side and not smear the paint by moving the paper around as much with my hands. I start my design by using one color to draw squiggly lines on the opposite side of the paper and then fill them in. And when I'm done filling in the squiggly lines, I do the same design with another color on the opposite side of the original to fill in the paper. I normally do this design with a monochromatic color palette, but since I only have the basic pack of the Sharpies, I was limited, so I decided to go in the order of the rainbow with the colors that I had. So that's Roy G. Biv for all of my art and science nerds out there. Similar to the other brands of paint marker I've tried, I do use 2 layers when coloring with the Sharpie markers to make sure they are opaque. I filled in the background with purple and started on the faces of my smiley faces in blue. Due to the brush tip of the Sharpie marker, the lines always end up a bit thicker than if it was a fine tip or a bullet tip paint marker. So now is where I ran into some issues with the Sharpie markers. 2 layers worked very well with the darker colors, even the yellow over white, but when it came to drawing on the green to outline my squiggle designs, I was out of luck. The green was so light that I couldn't get it to be opaque in just 2 layers over the dark purple and blue that I was trying to cover. So for future reference for myself and to anyone who wants to try similar layered designs with Sharpie markers, I recommend starting with the light colors first and then layering darker and medium colors on top so you don't end up doing like 5 to 6 layers of a light color on top of darker colors. I did eventually get the green to cover it, but it took a lot more layers and paint to make it work. Either way, I'm still really happy with the results of this piece, and I think it turned out pretty great. And I'm done with the Sharpie Creative Marker one, so on to the Posca one. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Posca markers are what jump-started my love for paint markers. With the Sharpie markers, you can color like you would with a normal marker because they have free-flowing paint, but with the Posca markers, they have to be activated by pressing down on the tip of the marker to release the paint from the cartridge inside the marker. Due to this, with the Posca markers, I color in my squiggle designs by drawing lines right next to each other, and after they're dry, I go back over with a second layer to ensure that the colors are opaque and even. If you try to color like a normal marker with Posca markers, the paper will get too saturated and they'll start to rip. It took me a while to figure this out technique-wise with the Posca markers, but when I finally did, I loved working with them. If you're new to using acrylic markers, I definitely recommend going over all of the layers twice, but only after they're done drying. The Posca markers look really streaky before the second layer. I'd say even more streaky than the Sharpie markers do on the first layer. So I use it as a rule of thumb with all of my paint-based markers. So here you can see where I completely forgot about doing my green outline over the squiggle design that gives it that real layered paint marker vibe, so I had to retape my piece, but it's fine. I just completely spaced, but I lined up the edges of my tape the best that I could, and I just kept going. When it came time to go over my squiggle lines with the green, the Posca markers are the clear winner here. I had no issue with the green layering over the dark blue and purple colors like I did with the Sharpie Creative markers. I did my normal 2 layers and I was done with no issue. There are still definitely pros and cons to both of these markers, and it really depends on the look you're going for with your piece. If you wanted one color to lay translucent on top of another color, the Sharpie markers would be better for this effect than the Posca pens. Here's the finish with the Posca pens. So I think the Posca markers are a lot more clean, and they were definitely more opaque than the Sharpie, but I do kind of like the effect of the Sharpie where it's a little bit more opaque so you can kind of see the smiley faces peeking through. So what do you think? And of course I'll post a picture of the actual photographed images, but yeah, I'll do that and then on to the end card. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know which one's your favorite in the comments. Bye! And here are the photographed images, starting with the Sharpie Creative markers followed by the Posca acrylic markers. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite and what other art materials and or brands you want me to try against each other. But for now, it's time for the end card, where my previous video pops up and the playlist of similar videos to this video pops up. So definitely check those out and do all of the things that all the YouTubers tell you to do. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye!